Let's be honest, the best thing in the WWE right now is the Bloodline. Sit back and think about it for a second. When was the last time you saw a faction run riot through the roster like they have? But are they one of the best factions in WWE history though? I'd argue that when the dust settles, we'd probably look back and think that they're up there with the NWO or Evolution, for example. Now, I know that's a big thing to say, but after you watch this video, I'm sure some of you might actually agree with me. So let's get into the history of the Bloodline. At the head of the table, you got Roman Reigns, the longest reigning champion in the modern era, and there's no chance he's going to lose the straps to just anybody. Then you got the Usos. I know Jimmy is an amazing talent and all, but I have to say, main event Jey Uso has really impressed me. He is the finished product, and I'd love to see him go after Roman's seat at the head of the table after Mania. Then finally you got Solo Sikoa. And finally you have the special counsel for the tribal chief, the wise man Paul Heyman, who needs no introduction. His work has elevated Roman to a level we haven't seen before. But getting back on track, the Bloodline come from the Honorary wrestling family, which includes names like Yokozuna, Rocky Johnson, Umaga, and obviously the people's champ, The Rock. That's what you call wrestling heritage. To add to that list, you have Sika from the Wild Samoans, who is Roman's dad. And then you have the biggest ass in the WWF, Rikishi, the Usos, and Solo Sikoa's dad. Now, it's one thing to be part of these families, but it's another thing trying to make it on your own. And nobody knows that better than Roman Reigns. Come on, Vince McMahon literally shoved him down our throats for years, whether we liked it or not. Multiple championships and even beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania. The guy literally won the Royal Rumble and even The Rock couldn't get him over. The look on The Rock's face just said it all, to be honest. We just didn't buy it. After taking all those L's, Vince McMahon flicked the switch and turned him heel. Let's start at the beginning of the story though. It's 2020. COVID is taking over the world and WWE did not protect their talent at all. So Roman decided to take a 5-month break. When it came time for him to come back, he wanted to change things, and he did that at SummerSlam. To set the scene, it's the main event. The Fiend just laid out Braun Strowman and was crowned the new Universal Champ. You'd think he'd have a minute to celebrate, but nope. Out of nowhere, Roman comes and spears him into next week and starts going to town on him, blow after blow, and then decides he wants to layeth the smackdown on Braun as well. So he jumps out of the ring and spears the hell out of him as well. If you thought that wasn't enough, believe me, it's not. He grabs a chair and starts hitting home runs on Braun before going back into the ring and giving the Fiend one more spear for good measure. The following week on SmackDown, Adam Pearce approached Roman to sign a contract for a Universal title match against Braun and The Fiend at Payback. But Roman didn't agree to sign straight away, and that was when we found out that he'd aligned himself with Paul Heyman. At Payback, Braun and The Fiend came out and there was no sign of Roman, so they decided to go on with the match. During the match, WWE resurrected the good old destroy the ring gimmick after The Fiend suplexed Braun. With both men on the mat, Roman's music hits and out he comes with Heyman holding the signed contract. Fast forward a couple of minutes after some shenanigans and Roman is crowned the new Universal Champion. Now, it's September and there's a fatal 4-way to decide who's going to face Roman at Clash of the Champions. It was supposed to be Big E, but he was sent out to the sidelines and Jey Uso took his spot. Jey won the match after pinning Riddle and he was the #1 contender. In the build-up, Roman cut a promo telling him to take the payday and the arse whooping, which is exactly what happened, because Jey would have little flurries but they wouldn't last long. Towards the end of the match, Roman told Jey to acknowledge him as his tribal chief. Jey was having none of it. I gotta hand it to him because after this he took the beating of a lifetime and still didn't acknowledge Roman. So Jimmy came out and threw in the towel, which meant Reigns retained the gold. We all know Jey never stood a chance the first time, but he decided to run it back in a Hell in a Cell I Quit match. After the beating he took in the last match, I have no clue why he agreed to this, because if he lost, he would have to acknowledge Roman Reigns or risk being kicked out of the family. Once again, the match was brutal to see. Roman reminded Jay that he does the whooping around here, and he delivered punishment like you wouldn't believe. At one point, Roman was going to end Jay's life with the steel steps, but out came Jimmy to shield his brother. Roman decided to pack it in, and then he started crying, but this gave Jimmy a chance to drop his guard, which Roman capitalized on and pounced on him and put him in a sleeper hold. Eventually, Jay came to his senses and he quit the match. Roman then met with the Wild Samoans, Arthur and his dad Sikoa at the top of the ramp, and was officially crowned the Tribal Chief. The following week on SmackDown, Roman and Jay opened the show. Roman was on the mic and told Jay to fall in line or risk being kicked out of the family by the end of the night. He had no choice but to listen, and after beating Daniel Bryan to qualify for the SmackDown Survivor Series team, Roman came out to the ring and started calling the shots, ordering Jay to deliver a beatdown to Bryan, which he does, sending him through the announce table, officially aligning himself with Roman and becoming the Tribal Chief's right-hand man. Fast forward a bit, he picked up a win in the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, and everything is looking good. But the family drama continued when Jimmy came back from injury in May 2021 on SmackDown after being out for a year. He wasn't happy about Jay aligning himself with Reigns, but the Usos teamed up again to take on Dominic and Rey Mysterio for the tag titles, aiming to go for their 7th tag title reign. Before the match, Roman tells them that he and the rest of the family expect them to win, and they didn't want to let the family down. You got a feel for the Usos, right? They basically were emotionally blackmailed into the bloodline. During the match, the ref missed Jimmy's shoulders being up during the pin, costing the Usos the title. Roman obviously wasn't happy about this and told the Usos to make it right. So on the same night, they got their rematch. Again, Roman wasn't liking what he was seeing. He comes out to the ring and he destroys the Mysterios with a Superman punch to Dominic, and then grabs the steel steps and starts pounding away before putting Dominic in a sleeper hold in the middle of the ring. Jimmy called out Roman for taking things too far, and things were just not getting better because Jimmy thought Reigns had to always make it about himself. Obviously, after the beating, Reigns wasn't in Mysterio's good books, so they had a Hell in a Cell match to settle things. Before the match, Jimmy offered to help Roman after realizing family comes first, but was told to find his brother instead, who didn't show up and was nowhere to be found. Roman dominated Rey and got him to tap, with Jimmy standing by his side to celebrate the win. The following week, he even tried to help Roman when he was ambushed by Edge, but got his ass sent straight through the barricade with a spear. The stars finally aligned, however, at SmackDown on July 9th, 2021. Jey Uso returned to SmackDown and made it clear to Jimmy that they had to be on the same page to get the titles back. Roman doubled down on this and told the brothers, with him as Universal Champion and them as Tag Team Champions, they would be unstoppable, but they would need to be together. The brothers agreed, and after a nice group hug, the Usos turned heel and aligned themselves with Roman. The bloodline was officially born. They made a huge impact straight away at 2021's Money in the Bank. On the pre-show, the Usos defeated the Mysterios to win the Tag Team Championships after cheating. There was more drama in the main event though. It was Roman and Edge for the Universal title. It was the first show with a live audience since COVID, so the crowd was fired up. Towards the end of the match, Roman had a metal bar in his mouth and Edge had a crossface applied to perfection. Roman was in big trouble. With nowhere to go, out came the Usos to make the save. Just when they slid into the ring, they were dragged out and attacked by the Mysterios. You could see the writing on the wall, but then out comes Rollins, who super kicks Edge in the face, and Roman eventually makes it back to his feet and sets up for a spear, but instead he takes one from Edge. Roman kicks out at 2 for a near fall. Seth eventually came out again to set up the distraction, and then Edge gets hit with a spear and Reigns wins the match. This was the start of the Bloodline's dominance, after taking out 2 of the locker room leaders and having momentum on their side. At SummerSlam, the Usos beat the Mysterios again, and Roman Reigns went up against the one and only Big Match John. The story was about John Cena, who was going for his 17th world title reign, aiming to beat the Nature Boy Ric Flair's record. At the pay-per-view, Reigns was miles ahead of Cena, and he even took an AA from the top rope and kicked out at 2. After 2 Superman punches and a spear, Roman made the cover and retained the title. After beating two of the best in this generation, Edge and Cena, there was another big name who set their sights on Roman's title. It was none other than Brock Lesnar. They had a match at 2021's Crown Jewel for the Universal title, but I can't lie, the Bloodline came in clutch for Roman in this match. Roman takes an F5 from Brock, but hits the ref at the same time. When he went for the cover, nobody was home. Brock decides to manhandle the ref, and when he turns around, he takes a spear from Roman, and both men are on the mat. To seal the deal, Heyman throws the belt into the ring. It is taken by Brock, but the Usos made the save, allowing Reigns to get the belt and smashing it over Brock's head to retain the title. Roman's dominance continued by beating Big E at Survivor Series, who was the current WWE champion, in a non-title match. As time went on, tension grew in the Bloodline when Heyman was fired by Roman in December 2021 because he was accused of secretly working with Lesnar. Heyman took a Superman punch and Roman had him set up for a home run with a steel chair, and Brock interfered and realigned himself with Heyman, leading to Brock winning the WWE Championship at 2022's Day 1 pay-per-view. It was actually noted that Roman tested positive for COVID and was supposed to be in the match, but because of that, he was replaced by Brock. Brock's reign as champion was short-lived though, and so was his partnership with Paul Heyman, who sold him out and passed Reigns the WWE title during an interference in Brock's title defense against Bobby Lashley at the Royal Rumble. The attack would cost Brock the title, sparking a fire under Brock's arse, and he entered the Royal Rumble at number 30, coming out as the winner, setting him up to face Roman at WrestleMania 38. But winning the Royal Rumble was not enough for Brock. Also, he won the WWE title back at the Elimination Chamber and was on his way to WrestleMania for a champion versus champion unification match for the world titles. In the words of Michael Cole, it was a big fight feel at WrestleMania. Billed as the biggest match in WrestleMania history, the match had the usual Bloodline antics, with Heyman distracting Brock and giving Roman the opportunity to spear him through the barricade. After this, the match was pretty basic. It was just Superman punches, spears, F5s and near falls on repeat. But then it was time for some shenanigans. With a good old knock the ref out gimmick, Roman speared Brock into the post, taking out the referee. With the ref down, Roman took a shot at Brock's crown jewels, with Brock selling to high heaven. Heyman handed Roman the Universal title, which went across the face of Brock, and again a near fall. Later in the match, Brock went for another F5, which Roman countered and responded with a spear to win the match. Roman Reigns was crowned the new WWE Undisputed Universal Champion. Taking a break from the Tribal Chief, let's go back to the Usos. They beat the Hurt Business at Crown Jewel, the New Day at Day 1, and then Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs at WrestleMania 38. But after WrestleMania, Roman expected the Usos to maintain the standards of the Bloodline and to unify the tag titles. The Raw tag titles were held by Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, known as RK Bro, who beat the Usos at Survivor Series in a non-title match. The match to unify the titles was planned for WrestleMania Backlash, but before that, there had to be a contract signing. Now, we know how these things usually go, right? This one wasn't any different. Both teams were in the ring, and after Randy insulted the Usos, they started trading blows, and then Roman's music hits. He came out and helped the Usos to take out RK Bro, then ripped up the contract and shoved it in Riddle's mouth. In came Drew McIntyre to make the save and sent Roman packing. Later on, it was announced that there would be a Teddy Long special 6-man tag team match player at WrestleMania Backlash between the Bloodline and RK Bro with Drew McIntyre. It was a pretty good match, and the finish was filled with carnage. Once again, Roman Reigns came in clutch. He Superman punched Randy and took him out of the match, then delivered a rock bottom to Drew McIntyre through the announce table, and to finish, Riddle RKO'd Jay from the top rope, but when he got up, he was speared by Reigns, who got the Bloodline the win. It was time for the Usos to unify the titles, and on May 20th edition of SmackDown, Matt Riddle held Jay at the top rope, and Roman interfered, throwing Riddle off the top rope, who got Usos splashed by Jay to unify the WWE Tag Team Championships. The scene after the match pretty much summed up the Bloodline's run. Riddle was hit with a Uso splash through the announce table, and then Roman put a sleeper hold on Randy. After this, the members of the Bloodline went back into the ring and ended the show holding the titles up. The unified WWE Universal and Tag Team Champions were in the ring. After beating all the high-profile opponents on the roster, the Bloodline were on top. At Clash at the Castle, Roman Reigns was up against Drew McIntyre. The Usos couldn't get into the country, so Roman was alone. Like I said before, I was in the crowd that night, and it was electric. It really felt like an upset was going to happen. Drew McIntyre weighed up Roman and delivered a Claymore kick and went for the cover. It genuinely felt like the reign was over. Just when the referee was about to make the 3 count, in came Solo Sikoa, who dragged the referee out of the ring. Then obviously Drew got hit with a spear and Roman retained, and the Bloodline had a new member, Solo Sikoa, who hadn't been in the WWE long. He joined in 2021 and is the youngest child of Rikishi. He won the NXT North American Championship not long after Clash at the Castle, but had to vacate the title shortly after to continue on the main roster. After winning everything, it was time for the Bloodline to get elevated to the next level. In came Sami Zayn, the Honorary Uce. It all started shortly after WrestleMania when he was feuding with Drew McIntyre. To try and get in Roman's good books, he kept pestering Paul Heyman to deliver messages to Roman. As the weeks went on, he started wearing a Bloodline shirt, acting like a cheerleader. His longtime friend Kevin Owens tried to convince Sami that the Bloodline couldn't care less about him, but he didn't agree and snapped, causing them to drift apart. This is something that would be important later on. On the same night, he got approval from Jimmy to join the Bloodline as an honorary member, but Jay didn't seem too happy about that. Once he got his foot in the door, he helped the Bloodline win matches, distracting Matt Riddle by playing Roman's music, allowing the Usos to capitalize and retain the tag titles. Things looked good for Sami, and he kept proving his worth, but tension started when Jey Uso felt Sami Zayn wasn't pulling his weight in the family. During the build-up for Clash at the Castle, Drew McIntyre attacked the Usos backstage, and you could see Sami backing away to avoid any punishment. Jay didn't like this action and called him out for making excuses, so Sami tried to make it right and took one for their team, pushing Jay out of the way and being hit with a Claymore kick from McIntyre. Sami was getting pretty comfortable with the Bloodline over time and started building his relationship with Roman, who took a liking to him. You could see it in backstage segments. Roman was dropping hints to Sami every now and again. They got even closer when Sami took a Claymore kick from McIntyre again after pushing Roman out of the way. Roman appreciated this and told him it was something that only family would do. Every time Kevin Owens got involved with the Bloodline, things got a bit tough for Sami. He held off helping the Usos, costing Jay a match against Kevin Owens on Raw after an argument. Roman saw through this and welcomed him into the Bloodline as the Honorary Uce in September 2022. This was perfect because Jay started to shift his attention to Roman because he didn't think Sami was Bloodline material. Over the next few weeks, Jay kept having disagreements with Sami, which became a problem for Roman, who asked them to talk things through. When Jay was firing shots at Sami, he said something that caught Roman's attention. He said he didn't care what the tribal chief said. Luckily for Sami, he tried to make the save and defended Jay by saying he hasn't been feeling oozy the last few weeks. This got a nuclear pop from the audience and was over with both Roman and Jay, who broke kayfabe during the segment. Roman did tell Jay if he didn't find his inner Uzi again, he was going to make Sami a full-blown Uce. This didn't go down well with Jay, and he started to doubt Roman. Throughout his time in the Bloodline, Sami had to prove himself, and he passed the biggest test at Survivor Series War Games, when Sami stopped the referee making the 3 count, after Kevin Owens hit Roman with a stunner. To make it worse for KO, he was low-blowed by Sami, and then hit with a Helluva kick, which showed Roman and the Bloodline, including Jay, where his loyalty was. The Bloodline would win the War Games match. Then came the Kevin Owens problem. Obviously, Kevin wasn't happy, and on Raw he told Sami he was done with him. I didn't want anything to do with him again. The feeling was the same on Sami's side, but again Owens reminded him no matter what he does, he will never be their family. Taking those comments on the chin, Sami carried on showing his loyalty to the Bloodline by helping the Usos retain the tag team titles against the Brawling brawling brutes. It felt like Sami had done everything to help the family, and after being away for a while, it was announced Roman was coming back to SmackDown. So now that they had been getting along, Jay told Sami to prepare himself to become a full-blown Uce, but things didn't go that way because Roman wanted Sami to take care of the KO problem. The solution to this was a tag team match with Roman and Sami versus Kevin Owens and a mystery tag team partner, which would be none other than John Cena. Things got worse for Sami though, when he got hit with the 5 moves of doom and then a stunner, which finished the match and made the KO problem much bigger for Roman, who snapped on Sami the following week on SmackDown. Things were getting tense with Sami, and you get a feeling he was being used and never really belonged in the bloodline. To make things worse, KO was going to face Roman at the Royal Rumble, but before that, the Tribal Chief decided to give Sami a chance to redeem himself on SmackDown in a singles match against KO. The match went down, and when Sami was lining up a Helluva Kick, the Usos interfered and beat the hell out of Owens, while Sami just watched. There was a lot going on in Sami's head, and he just kept watching whilst Owens got destroyed. He was playing it off like he had things covered, but deep down you know he was hurting, because KO took some serious punishment. When it came time for the contract signing at the Royal Rumble, Owens was nowhere to be found, and you had Roman at the head of the table surrounded by the bloodline, his feet up looking all comfortable and relaxed. I mean, what could possibly go wrong, right? Out of nowhere, KO jumps into the ring and takes out the bloodline and drops a stunner to Reigns and then a pump-up powerbomb through the table. Where was Sami Zayn, you ask? I have no clue. He decided to come down to the ring once everybody is laid flat, but he hesitates and just stands by on the apron, giving time for KO to make a run for it. I mean, you can see it from the bloodline side, right? Sami really didn't do anything about the KO problem, so it was decided that there would be a trial of Sami Zayn at Raw's 30th anniversary show. It was a tribal court with Paul Heyman doing his usual lawyer gimmick. Now, the wise man came prepared and showed 4 pieces of footage against Sami to prove he was guilty. Let's get into it. Exhibit A was when he was running away from Drew McIntyre after he attacked the Usos. There's no real defense there for Sami if I'm being honest. Exhibit B showed us the time Sami hesitated to hit Kevin Owens with a steel chair, which cost Jay the match. Again, he doesn't have a leg to stand on with this one. Exhibit C showed Sami celebrating on his own after winning the War Games match. This was pretty weak from Paul, and not something I'd find him guilty for. Finally, you had Exhibit D. Sami was cutting a promo on SmackDown, and when he got fired up, he crossed Roman, but he gave the Tribal Chief a little nudge, which apparently was assault. For God's sake, come on Paul. If the man took a breath in the same room as Roman, he was going to get called out for it at this point. Obviously, Sami had a chance to plead his case, and after hearing everything, he sort of just gave up and decided not to defend himself, which was a bit out of character for him. If this was Sami a couple of months ago, he would have been jumping through hoops to back himself, but that ship had sailed a while ago. This didn't go down well with Roman, who made his decision and asked Solo to take him out, and just when the Samoan spike was going to land, Jay stepped in and made the save. Now, the drama was through the roof, but Jay put on his lawyer hat and gave us the defense of Sami Zayn. So let's hear him out. Exhibit A was when Sami played Roman's music to help the Usos retain the tag titles. Sami came in clutch for that one. Exhibit B, when he pushed Roman out of the way and took a Claymore kick. The guy took a bullet for him there again. I'm with Sami on this one. Exhibit C, Sami took a chair shot from McIntyre after pushing Solo out of the way. I'm starting to see a trend here. Sami's taking a lot of bullets for these guys, right? And then Exhibit D, Sami helped the Usos retain against the Brawling Brutes by holding Sheamus trying to break the pinfall. And finally, Exhibit E, how can you forget when he came in clutch at War Games and setting up Kevin Owens' elimination? Jay made the perfect case for Sami and stuck his neck out for him. After Roman heard both sides of the story, he agreed Sami was not guilty for now. We all knew he was hanging on by a thread. Reigns mentioned though that at the Royal Rumble he would have one final test to keep his place in the bloodline. Now, a quick warning before the next bit. It's time for you to get your popcorn because things are heating up. We've covered the history of the bloodline so far, but nothing in this storyline has been anywhere near as good as the Martin Scorsese cinema that was waiting for us at the Royal Rumble. Roman laid out Kevin Owens and retained the title, but before Sami was welcomed back into the bloodline, Roman had his final test lined up. First, he let Sami watch as Owens took the beating of a lifetime from the bloodline. bloodline. Then Roman gets out a pair of handcuffs and attaches them to the ropes. Steel chair in hand, he lines up a shot, and then in comes Sami, who's seen enough, and tries to stop Roman, but this backfired, and Roman dropped his final test, asking Sami to take the chair and finish the job. Once again, Sami hesitated and wouldn't pull the trigger, which got Roman Reigns fired up, and Sami got bashed for not following orders. The scene after this was perfect. Sami had the chair, and Roman made the mistake he made all those years ago when he was in the Shield. Back turned and trash-talking Kevin Owens, Sami loaded up the chair and smashed it across Roman's back, with the crowd exploding. The Honorary Uce betrayed the bloodline, and Roman didn't know what hit him. Jey Uso was torn, he didn't know what to do, and then Jimmy gave a super kick to Sami, and then a ground and pound. Roman got back to his feet and joined in on the action, but Jey couldn't watch, and left the ring, detaching himself from the bloodline. Roman snapped because Sami tore apart his bloodline, and started teeing off with chair shots to the back, and then ripped apart his Honorary Uce shirt, and left him lifeless with Kevin Owens. Sami had betrayed the bloodline, and they looked vulnerable for the first time in their reign of terror. They say things come full circle in the world of wrestling, and that happened at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view when Sami challenged Roman for the undisputed titles. Jey Uso is still detached from the bloodline, and seems to have a trust built with Sami, which is keeping him away. He came back to defend his tag team championships on SmackDown recently, but he isn't involved much with the group, and is watching from the sidelines. Meanwhile, Sami has been trying to find himself again, and even got into a fired up promo with Cody Rhodes, who acknowledged him and gave him a chance at beating Roman. Sami doubted himself and thought it was impossible, but there was hope. Montreal, Elimination Chamber, home field advantage. It was Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns for the gold, with Sami's family watching at ringside. Roman came out to nuclear heat, while Sami was given a hero's welcome. The drama got more intense when Sami gave Roman a Superman punch and then a haluva kick, which seemed to be the end for Roman, but right at the last second, a near fall. The fight went to the outside of the ring, and just when Sami was going to be speared through the barricade, he dodged, sending Roman crashing straight through. Sami looked like he had a chance, and the crowd was behind him. Later in the match, the ref takes a bump, which gives Jimmy a chance to come and hit an Uso splash. The ref came to his senses again, but then again a near fall. Roman gets back to his feet and is handed a steel chair by Heyman. When it looks like Sami is done, in comes Jey Uso, and Roman hands him the chair to finish the job, but he hesitates, just like Sami did, and then Roman starts the insults again, giving Sami a chance to recover and go for a spear on Roman, who throws him into Jey. Sami's down and Reigns has the chair and starts pounding away at him, and then a spear, which seals the deal. Roman retained the titles. The last few weeks have been some of the best storytelling I have seen in the WWE for years. Sami is continuing to feud with the bloodline after his disappointing loss at the Elimination Chamber, and is still looking to make them collapse. Through all the highs and all the lows, the bloodline has been the best thing on WWE programming for the last few years. They're showing no signs of slowing down, and after wrecking the entire roster, they are easily one of the most dominant factions in WWE history, the longest reigning WWE champion of the modern era, and the longest reigning tag champions of all time, along with providing Sami the platform to elevate himself as one of the biggest stars in the business. All the drama, 5-star matches, and the star power to carry the company. I can't wait to see what's in store for the next few weeks as we head into WrestleMania. If you enjoyed this video and stuck around till the end, make sure to hit the like button and make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for more wrestling content right here on Wrestling Real.